Hello my friends, it's Laura. Today's video is going to be a vlog. So I saw a couple different people do this. They did videos where they reacted to all of their anticipated releases videos that they put up throughout the life of their channel basically, and reacted to them, you know, let you know which ones they read, which ones they didn't, if they're still interested in reading them. The first person I saw do this was Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and then I saw Kayla from Books and Lala do this as well. And both of their videos were a little bit different in style, so I'll link both their videos down below so you can go check them out. But I wanted to do the same thing. So I started going through my old anticipated releases videos and realized that I had a ton of books on there that I haven't read yet, and I was reacting to them on camera and then realized that this was gonna be a ridiculously long video, let's just say that. So I decided to turn it into a vlog series where I actually decide whether or not I still want to read those books, and then actually read those books. So because I have so many, this is going to be a series of vlogs. So this is episode 1. The first anticipated releases video that I ever posted was in May of 2019. So I was doing, well actually it was in April of 2019, but I was doing monthly anticipated releases videos. So these were my anticipated releases for May of 2019. Here's the video. I'm going to link all of my anticipated releases videos in a playlist down below in case you want to check out the videos themselves. But for right now, in my anticipated releases of May 2019, I read all of them except for one, which was except for two. The first one being Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. And over the years, I actually lost interest in reading this book. It's a YA contemporary. YA contemporary is not something that I reach for so much anymore. So I had already decided that I wasn't gonna read this, but then I read Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson at the end of 2020. 5 stars, absolutely loved it. And then I read White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson, another 5 stars, absolutely loved it. So I said, you know what, why not? Let me just go ahead and read this. So that is the first book we're gonna be reading in this vlog, Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. The other book from May of 2019 that I didn't get around to reading was The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This was actually one of the books that were on my backlist that I decided to unhaul without reading at the end, or at the beginning of this year, 2021. So that is off the list. I really don't have an interest in going back, and especially after I already unhauled the book, I don't have an interest in going back and reading that, so we're not gonna read that one. Okay, so the next video was for September of 2019, because apparently I skipped a bunch of months, but that is this video here. So, you know, you can go check that out if you want to. But for September 2019, the only book that I didn't read from that list was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, and I've already decided that I'm not interested in reading that book anymore. I just don't want to. I've heard good things, but I've also heard really, really bad things about that book and that series, and I have absolutely no interest in reading it anymore, so we're gonna skip that one as well. Getting into more recent anticipated releases, we have January of 2020, which was this video. There are actually 5 books that came out in September of 2020 that I didn't get around to reading. So the first one is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. I've decided that I'm not interested in reading that one either. Then we have Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. I am definitely still interested in reading this book, and this is another book that I will read this week. So that's going on to the TBR. This is somewhat autobiographical, but also with a little bit of magical realism or fantasy added in. I've never read anything quite like that, so it sounds really interesting, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. So still excited to read that. Then it was Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, which is the second book in the Fix Her Up series. I'm sure the series has a different name, but I don't know it at this point. I read Fix Her Up and absolutely loved it. It was one of my first introductions to adult contemporary romance, and I loved it. So I really wanted to read the second book, and I never got around to reading it. I've kind of lost interest in that whole series since then, but I still want to give this a try. So Love Her or Lose Her is going on the list. Then we have Rogue Princess. Actually, I didn't write down the author. Rogue Princess by B.R. Myers. That is a stunning cover. And let's be honest, it was only the cover that drew me into this book. A princess fleeing an arranged marriage teams up with a snarky commoner to foil a rebel plot in B.R. Meyer's Rogue Princess, a gender-swapped sci-fi YA retelling of Cinderella. Oh, did I know that? That it was a Cinderella retelling? I don't know if I did. But I've since taken this off of my Goodreads TBR. I have no interest in reading it anymore. I don't know why. It doesn't have the best of ratings, and a lot of the people that I look to, a lot of the people that I trust who have read it, haven't really enjoyed it. Like, just that it was fine. So I don't know if I'm really interested in still reading that. We'll see. We'll see. I wasn't planning on including it in this video, but if I get through the other ones and decide that I want to pick that up, then maybe I will. And then finally, the last book in that video that I was anticipating that I haven't read yet is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. This was a book that I almost unhauled and decided to keep last minute because I really wanted to give it a shot because I've heard some really good things about it. I haven't heard much about it, but I've heard really good things. So I do want to give this one a try and see how it goes. So we're adding this in to the TBR. So that is a total of what, 4 books? I think that is enough to read in 1 week. And basically I just want to make sure that I'm actually reading the books that I'm excited about, that I've highly anticipated. I went through all the trouble of, especially back then, looking up all the books that were coming out in a particular month and going through all of them and seeing which ones sounded interesting to me and putting them on a list, talking about them in a video. I went through all of the trouble. So I actually want to make sure that I read those books. So that is what we're going to be doing this week. We're going to be reading my old anticipated releases, seeing how it goes. Hopefully I get some books in here that I really, really enjoy. So that's the plan for the week, and I will update you once I've made some progress in the first book. Hello friends, I have a reading update and a mini haul for you. So I am currently 47% of the way through Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm enjoying it so much, so much. It's like, it feels like a big love letter to hip hop, and it's set in the late 90s and the nostalgia. Oh man, I was like 2 chapters in and I'm like, oh my god, I need to make a playlist for this book. But then I went on Spotify and saw that Miss Jackson already made a playlist, so, and it's a good one, which is something that I discovered recently back in October, I think, of last year. A lot of the times that either the publisher or the author will create a playlist for a particular book, and they're usually really, really good. So I've really been enjoying like finding playlists based on my favorite books and just listening to them and being in the vibe of the book completely, if that makes sense. I'm loving this. So I don't know if I even told you what this is about, but we're following, so Steph, a young boy named Steph, gets killed in Brooklyn, and his sister and 2 of his friends decide that because he was such a talented artist before he died, he produced a lot of music, and they are trying to get him out there. They're trying to get his music out there and like get him a record deal even though he's dead. And so they're getting themselves into a lot of shit basically, and it's entertaining. It's also like heavy with the grief of losing Steph. And it's so good. It's so good, which like I should have known, right? I should have known because it's Tiffany D. Jackson. At this point, she's an auto buy for me. This is probably going to be either a 4 or 5 star. I'm just loving it so much. It's so unapologetically black, and it's just like the vibes of it and the nostalgia, like I said, and the hip hop. Oh man, the music. I just love it. I love it. I'm having a great time. Probably going to finish it today because I have a lot more time on my hands than I did yesterday. I've already edited my video. I still need to make sure that gets uploaded in a second. I'm just like doing housework today. So while I'm doing housework, I'm listening to the audiobook. I can't see. I can't. I took off my glasses and now I can't see. Make sure I'm in focus. Okay. book haul. So yesterday was the 1st of March and my pre-order came in for All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm so excited for this. I know it's gonna be an emotional read and I can't wait. I'm actually 374 pages. I'm gonna be picking this up next week. I'll be vlogging next week as well. I kind of just decided that I'm gonna vlog throughout the entire month. Cannot wait. It has, do you see the little embossed ST? Is that not like so fancy? Like I saw that in Marlon James's book too, where it's just like his initials embossed in the book. I don't know, I just think it's fancy. But anyway, that came in, and then I also picked up Prime Meridian by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Silvia Moreno Garcia is another author that I am so incredibly interested in. I've read two books by her so far, and I really just want to read everything. I want to read her entire backlist. I have 2 other books by her on my shelf, 3 other books by her on my shelf. Yeah, 3 other books, now 4. This is a little novella and it's obviously sci-fi. I know nothing about it. I don't want to know anything about it, but I recently saw Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany haul this. I think it was Bethany, and I was like, oh, I want that too. So I bought it. It was like really cheap. It was only like $7. So I picked it up and I cannot wait to read this. Once again, I'm saving it for June because I'm saving all of my short novellas, short books for June, but very happy to have it now. And it's just so cute. Look at it. Look at that cover. Look at the size. Really cute. So that is my mini book haul. My reading update for you. So I just finished Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm giving it 5 stars. It was incredible. It was such a fun story. There's a lot of like hijinks, I guess, because these kids trying to get stuff out there after he's died and not telling anyone he's died, and just like the sneaking around they're doing and all that. But it was also really heartfelt. It was really emotional. The grief and the other themes throughout this book were just done so well. It made me cry because everything makes me cry. I loved it. I loved it a lot. Very excited to have finished that, and now we can move on to the next book. But just getting back to Let Me Hear a Rhyme, I definitely recommend if you haven't picked it up yet, especially if you love old school hip-hop. There was just so much of this to love, and it's such a fun story to read even though it's a little bit heavy. So I definitely recommend. The next book I think I'm gonna pick up is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. Okay, so 2 things. First of all, I think I told you yesterday that I was giving 5 stars to Let Me Hear a Rhyme. That was like an emotional response after just finishing it. But I thought I took some time to actually think about my rating. I put it through Compile and it came out as 4 stars. So 4 stars for Let Me Hear a Rhyme. Still absolutely loved the reading experience of that book. Highly recommend. And then I tried to move on to the next book, which was Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, and unfortunately I had to DNF it pretty quickly. It's nothing wrong with the book, just it had some content in it that I just couldn't handle right now. I'm gonna have to put it aside. Hopefully one day I will be in the right place to pick it back up again, but I just can't do it now. So that one's off the table, which means we're moving on to the next book, which is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozlov. This is a fantasy. It's a fantasy, that's all I know about it. The ultimate fantasy for fantasy fans. That's what it says. So I'm gonna start this today. I probably won't finish it today. Well, I might, I mean, who knows? We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to give this one a try, and once I make some progress in it, I'll let you know how it goes. It's here. Here it is. Gallant by V.E. Schwab. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at that cover. It's stunning. Back. Ooh, look at the pen papers. Gorgeous. Oh, there's illustrations. There's like these beautiful illustrations throughout the book. I honestly just want to drop everything I'm doing right now and read this book. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to, but it's here. Good morning, friends. Please excuse my face. I woke up this morning with a killer migraine. So I'm just taking it easy today. I'm right here in A Queen in Hiding. I read a ton of this last night. It's a pretty quick read, I will say. I'm not having the best time with it though. So I definitely recommend that if you read this book, don't read the synopsis because it just sets you up for failure. The synopsis gives a very straightforward picture of what the story should be, but nothing in the synopsis happened until the last chapter that I just read. The last 2 chapters maybe. So that's like over 50% of the book. Like 2/3 of this book. What could only be backstory for what, according to the synopsis, is the main point of this story. So that's a lot of backstory that I don't know is particularly necessary. It takes a while for the story to start because I'm not going to tell you what the synopsis says, but it basically talks about the princess, who is really not that much of a main character in here. So basically what's happening is a usurper has plotted to take over the throne from the queen, and the queen discovers this plot and her impending assassination, and so she takes her daughter, the princess, and she runs. She puts the princess safely, hides her away, and goes off to try to get her kingdom back. She meets up with her husband, who is like this, not a pirate, but like a navy lord, sea lord, and they go to this island kingdom to like regroup and figure out how to take their kingdom back, but they end up fighting a different war, like with these pirates, and that this other nation convinces them to fight this war with these pirates, or against these pirates, so that she can like return back to her home victorious, and then, you know, take back her throne from the people who have taken over. And then the story goes from there, which is fine, but I just didn't find it that interesting, especially because I read the synopsis and was expecting a different story that I'm assuming is now going to start. But a lot of years have gone by so far. So anyway, I think that this is interesting. I think that the world's very interesting. There's a lot of talk of spirits, and there's different spirits, and I think there's like maybe 8. There's like a sea spirit and a water spirit and I don't know, other spirits, and the different nations in this world believe in, worship different spirits. And it looks like the spirits are real because we've seen a little bit of influence with the spirits so far. Nothing like overt, and we don't have like perspectives from them or anything like that, but the spirits are definitely real. They're definitely a part of this world and a part of the story and the mythology and stuff. And every queen has a certain talent, or it looks like every ruler has a certain talent. I'm not exactly sure, but the queen is able to influence people when she touches them, which is really interesting, like enchant them, make them believe, make them forget things, make them believe something. And then the princess has very interesting magic. She is able to communicate with animals, which is, I love that. I love animal type magic like that. But we barely get to see anything of the princess, and I thought that this was going to be her story. So I'm just a little bit confused about that. And like, there's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of politicking going on, and war, and I just don't find it interesting though. I'm a little bit bored, but every time I think, oh, maybe I should just like DNF this, like something will happen that'll pique my interest again, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then I get bored again. So, I mean, it's fine, and I like the ideas. I like the concept of this story, but I'm not like overly fond of the execution. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this is a multi-perspective story. Did I say that earlier? So there's a lot of perspectives and a lot of people that we have to keep track of. So if that's something that bothers you, that's something to keep in mind. And also there's a couple of perspectives in here that we don't really know why we're following. It hasn't connected to the main story yet. So that's another thing that it's not bothersome, and I've read other books where this has happened and you just kind of have to wait and see how they
meet up. But with this particular perspective, it's interesting, but like I get so bored of it whenever this perspective comes up. I'm just like, I don't know why this fits in, and I don't know why I have to follow this. So I'm just like irritated throughout that entire perspective. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I just thought of that. But anyway, back to reading.
Hello friends, it's the same day. I just changed my shirt, tried to put myself together a little bit. I'm feeling a lot better than I did earlier. Still not 100%, but I finished the book. I finished A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozlov, and it was fine. I think that this book is just setup. It's just a whole book full of setup for the main story, which I thought we were gonna get in this book. I feel like this would have been better if it was longer, maybe. Like, it's 463 pages. Maybe if we had like another 100 pages to actually focus more time on who is supposed to be the main character in this book, Princess Cerelia. If we had spent more time with her and her plotline, I would have enjoyed this story more. But I just think that this is not something that stands on its own, and it's not a bad book. It's good. But yeah, this just, like, it was good. Was okay with it. There were times where I was bored. There were times where I was very intrigued. It was just fine and ultimately forgettable. Like, it's your very standard, typical fantasy with a lot of political intrigue. The world and setting of this could have been so interesting. Like, a lot of it reminded me of the Queens of Renthia series, with this idea of spirit and them like being involved in, and like the synopsis itself, like none of that happened. None of that even started to happen in this book. So I feel like I didn't get the story that I was sold. And I feel like this particular book, and maybe that's like the synopsis for the overall series, but none of that happened in this book. So I feel like this is just setting up the series. And if that's the case, the synopsis completely missold what's happening in this book. Does that make sense? I'm giving it 3 stars. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I think it's ultimately going to be forgettable. So that's 2 books down, 3 if we include my DNF. So we're moving on to the last book in this vlog, and that is going to be Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. I'm really excited to read this one because I loved Fixer Up so much. So let's talk about, or rather let's rant about Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, because I did finish it at like midnight last night. I hated it. I hated it. So basically in this book, we're following Dominique and Rosie. They were like childhood sweethearts. They got married young, and they their marriage is on the rocks. Like, they do not communicate with each other at all. However, they do have like regularly weekly scheduled sex marathons. So there's that. But other than that, they do not communicate. They do not talk to each other. Their marriage is not doing well at all. And Rosie has finally decided that she's had enough, and so she tells him that she's leaving him. She moves out, and he comes back to her and is like, what do I need to do to get you back? And she said, go to couples therapy. So they go to couples therapy, which, first of all, the therapist that she picked is a complete joke. He's a complete joke. Like, that was, I don't know if that was just put in there to be funny, but it wasn't funny. Like, it wasn't funny at all. Like, this guy is a pot-smoking hippie who gives them this activity of putting a tent together in the woods to like build their togetherness or help them work together or whatever, and then shows up with 2 women to have a threesome in the tent. This is their therapist. Okay, that was a joke. So this is all about them like trying to get back together, try to fix their marriage, blah blah blah. And these 2 people should not be together. They shouldn't be together. It's obvious that Dominic, like, first of all, he has absolutely no personality besides like wanting to be the man and provide for his wife. And he, a former Marine, he was stationed in Afghanistan, and he obviously has some PTSD. He needs therapy, okay, on his own before he can think about repairing his marriage. But that was never addressed, even though it was so blatantly like spelled out for us that he was suffering from PTSD, but like we never talked about it. We never talked about it. He never worked through that, whatever. But Dominic is such a caveman. He is overbearing. He is overprotective. He is domineering. He is horrible. And like there were so many red flags with their relationship. Like there was a part in the book where she was mentioning, Rosie was mentioning that like Dominic wanted her all for himself, and like they never got out, and she never had friends and a support system. Like, honey, that's not good. That's not good. There was a point in the story where she like dramatically quits her job, and her and her friends decide to go on a girls' night. So they go out, they get all dressed up, you know, they go out to the club or whatever, and all of their men show up, because like Dominic even says, I trust my woman, but I don't trust other men. I'm sorry, what? So all of the men show up to follow their women to this club, and then as he gets there and he sees her from across the way, he's thinking, he's looking at her in her dress, because she has like, you know, a pretty dress on, and he's like, she shouldn't be showing all of this skin. This is him in his mind. This is supposed to be all just for me. I don't want other men looking at her like this. That's what he's thinking in his mind. And I'm like, is this supposed to be romantic? Because it's not. It's so not. It's toxic. These two people had no chemistry. They had, besides like their physical attraction, which is another thing, because I swear to God, every time they looked at each other, he was immediately hard, she was immediately wet, and I'm like, that's not realistic. But they didn't have anything else going for them. I don't understand why they were together. They should have not been together at all. And the amount of times that he called her honey girl. Now I know, like, I read Fix Her Up, and I know that a lot of people had issues with Travis in that book constantly calling Georgie baby girl. I didn't have a problem with it. But this time with Dominic constantly calling her honey girl this, honey girl that, that's not a cute nickname. That's not a cute pet name. I don't like it, and I got so tired of it because it was so much. It happened so many times. Their whole therapy sessions were a joke. Like, nothing in this book worked. Absolutely nothing. And I do not understand how this is a romance. I do not understand how we're supposed to root for these two people when they shouldn't be together, when they need to work on themselves, especially Dominic. I don't understand how the same author who wrote Fix Her Up that I loved so much could have possibly written this book. I don't understand. I did not care about these characters. These characters had no personality. This was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, and I gave it 1 star. And I probably should have DNF'd it. At a certain point, like, I was reading it and I was like, I really don't care about this, but I kept reading, and then I was like, I should just DNF this, and I checked, because I'm listening to the audio, and I was 75% of the way through, and I'm like, you know what, I've made it this far, I might as well just finish it. And I just like hate read the rest of the book. I don't get it. If you have read this book and you enjoyed it, I'm sorry to be shitting on it, but it was not good in my opinion. What a disappointment. Like, it made me angry. It actively made me angry reading this book. So that did not go the way I thought it was gonna go at all. I saved this book for last, specifically because I thought I was going to enjoy it the most. I thought for sure that this was gonna be the 1 5-star in this video, and it ended up being a 1 star. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. So that's the end of this video. This was the first episode of me finally reading my previous anticipated releases. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, because I didn't have the best time reading these books, except for Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson, which was the first one I read, so let's talk about everything. Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson was great. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I love Tiffany's writing, and I loved how authentic this felt. I loved the characters. I thought it was so cute. It was a little unrealistic. Like, this would never happen in real life, but at the same time, like, it's literally fiction, so it's fine, and it's YA, and I loved it. It was a really fun time. I had a good time reading it. And then I ended up DNFing Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. Nothing wrong with the book, just had some triggering content that I couldn't deal with at this particular time. Then I went on to read A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozlov, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. This book was absolutely fine. It just didn't do anything to make it stand out to me. So I don't think that I'll be continuing on in the series. Maybe I will at some point. It was a very quick read, that's for sure. And I thought the audiobook narration was done really, really well. But yeah, just fine, but none of the characters, nothing really stood out to me, unfortunately. And then of course we have Love Her or Lose Her, which ended up being 1 star. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Talk to me down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know if you also read Love Her or Lose Her and what you thought about it, because I'd be very curious to know. But that is going to be it for this vlog. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.